I shelved everything I wanted, taking on soul-crushing hours to pay off what my parents owed, believing each sacrifice meant a better future for us all. But last week, I learned my hard-earned money had gone to buy my brother something shiny and new, a brand new car. I can still feel my heart dropping when I found out. It's not the kind of betrayal you recover from easily, you know? My parents, drowning in their own sea of desperation, confessed they were in debt, eyes glistening with hopes I couldn't bear to shatter. As their dutiful son, I couldn't refuse. I emptied my savings, erasing dreams of discovery and freedom, all to win their evasive approval. But the truth hit me hard. My sacrifice hadn't saved the family from financial ruin. Instead, it fueled the vroom of my brother's glossy new car parading through town. Rage surged, tangled with heartbreak, leaving me hollow and adrift. The betrayal sliced deeper than any bond, cutting straight into who I thought I was, what I had willingly lost. Why not me? That question haunted me. But what price was I still expected to pay? The kitchen is cloaked in a stillness that feels almost sacred, the late afternoon sun casting lazy patterns on the worn tablecloth. I sit there, fingers tracing the edges of a frayed hem, the fabric somehow too real beneath my fingertips. It's one of those moments where the silence could expand forever, heavy yet curling faintly at the edges with potential. There's something sweet and dusty about it, like the way the kitchen always smells when a season changes. But today it's different. The air is thick with a tension that sticks to my skin, clinging in a way that feels intrusive. My senses are heightened, as if they're preparing me for something I can't quite name. My mind begins to drift sideways, thoughts languid like the soft arms of an old chair. Somewhere behind the walls, through the spackle and paint that time has smoothed over, muted voices murmur, almost too soft to register, yet distinct enough to pull at my awareness like the tentative poke of a child's finger. The nuanced tones carry hints of laughter, small, secretive notes that, for an instant, lift the corners of my mouth. But the smile dies just as quickly. Something inside me tightens, an instinctive clench echoing from where trust crouches uncertainly. Happiness feels foreign here, in this space built of whispered hopes and careful silence, a place where laughter used to mean everything. Now it means something else. It's ridiculous, I tell myself, letting this feeling wind around my heart. There's an explanation, there always is. This is the lull after the storm of our fights, the emotionally charged dialogues that pretended to solve everything while only cutting deeper and invisibly. But maybe it's more than that, a subtle, wordless lullaby that hints at betrayal. The celebration percolating through those walls doesn't reach me. Instead, it leaves a residue of doubts, bits and pieces of misplaced puzzle pieces scattering over my thoughts. I'm Carrie, the sacrificial lamb to the altar of compromise. I've given so much, shaping my presence into shadows and quiet smiles, always holding back for the sake of peace. Yet here I am, ears pricking at half-heard phrases, too distant to understand, yet so close they make the air hum with possibility, tinged with edges sharp enough to cut. Above all, I hold my breath, suspended in this pocket of time where nothing makes sense, but premonition slithers through my veins, leaving a trail of unease. I push the sound of their celebration far away. Instead, I lean into the quiet, seeking the steady, rhythmic comfort of my own heartbeat. I'm here, after all, sitting at a table where dreams used to grow, where love used to fill every corner. Still, somewhere deeper, where the truth lurks beneath the surface of consciousness, I'm aware that everything rests on the cusp of breaking. A solitary fear whispers, almost lost in the subdued cacophony, yet loud enough to haunt. I carry the cost, don't I? The garage smelled of newness mingled with the faint tang of motor oil. I stepped inside, and there it was. Glossy, impossibly sleek, casting a shadow over the cluttered remnants of our shared childhood scattered around the room. My brother stood beside it, a grin stretched across his face, his eyes alight with a victory that felt corrosive. Pretty incredible, huh? He beamed, gesturing grandly toward the car like it was a masterpiece he'd crafted with his own hands. I nodded, swallowing hard, my mouth dry. My thoughts collided and tumbled over each other, quietly fraying the edge of my composure. The bright overhead lights burnished every curve, making the red paint shimmer coldly, as if mocking me, mocking everything I'd willingly laid down for our family. My stomach tightened. How could something so beautiful feel so utterly jarring? He kept talking. I mean, it was a steal, really. Practically got away with robbery. His voice bounced across the concrete walls, filled with a brazen exuberance that inundated the room, drowning out the ghostly whispers of every late night I had spent putting him through school. Each word sliced at me, daggers masked as delighted shrieks. Every boast was a twisted knife pointing at my sacrifice. I was shrinking under the weight of his laughter, feeling myself coil tighter as each brag dragged against my skin like sandpaper. Standing there, I was caught in the glare of betrayal spotlighted by glinting sunlight on polished metal. How did he not see it? The fracture forming in my chest with each offhand comment, every dismissive crane of a hand, as if it were all inevitable. How did he manage to laugh, so self-assured, while I stood knotted with confusion and the beginnings of an intense, simmering fury? The room seemed to shrink around us, the car growing larger, a monster of metal and arrogance. My pulse drummed in my ears. He rambled on about horsepower, luxury interiors, things that sounded like nonsense to me, winding exotic syllables that achieved nothing but deepen the divide between us. I could see his excitement, vivid and real, coursing through him like an electric current. Yet, every spark only highlighted how far I'd sunk in his esteem. A sibling's place, a loyalty I had always embraced without question, now rubbed raw against the abrasive truth of indifference. In moments when his words fell silent, the ticking clock against the wall seemed louder, a metronome to my silent countdown. My patience, my belief, everything was crumbling. He looked at me, still radiant, expecting agreement, admiration, maybe, but I couldn't give that. Not anymore. All I could offer was a nod, the barest veneer of approval as I clung to my last shreds of restraint. He turned back to the car, enveloping it in another blanket of praise, oblivious to my silence. I stood, etched in the divide between acknowledgement and fury, and everything I once knew felt like slipping away. Their eyes were unyielding, masks of selfish indifference I never thought they'd wear, and I, standing there, unraveling with unspent rage. The living room suddenly felt alien, the afternoon light creeping through the curtains as if prying on our brittle facades. My voice, unfamiliar even to me, echoed off the walls, desperate as it reached out for some semblance of understanding. You can't just pretend it didn't happen, I pleaded, my words sharp but laced with a quiver that exposed my crumbling defenses. The weight of their silence crushed any hope of a quick resolution. My father adjusted his glasses, a gesture so mundane it infuriated me more. Let's not dredge up the past, he murmured dismissively, each syllable a calculated step back, withdrawing into a fortress of denial. Next to him, my mother stared at the patterned rug, more occupied with its symmetry than my imploding world. Every deflection, every nonchalant shrug was like a sucker punch, knocking the air from my lungs. This isn't about the past. It's about now, about understanding, about love. The last word inflicted the deepest cut, leaving a raw wound exposed in the open air. The silence stretched, a taut wire threatening to snap. My hands trembled, knuckles whitening as they clenched the back of the sofa for grounding. The room grew colder, a creeping chill settling deep within my bones. Their indifference was suffocating. My breath hitched in my throat as my father sighed, a sound of exasperation rather than empathy. We've done our best, he stated, his voice steady, rehearsed. An actor delivering lines in a play I no longer believed in. You must move on, for your own sake. Move on. The words cut through me like an icy wind. It wasn't a bomb but a dismissal, a quicksand I couldn't climb out of. Move on, as if I could shed my despair like an old coat. My fingers curled tighter around the sofa's fabric, nails digging into the worn cloth as if to find purchase in this chasmic void of unwavering apathy. I looked at them, pleading silently, hoping against hope for a crack, a break in the facade. But their faces remained impassive, stone carvings unmoved by the torrents unleashed before them. The room spun, my fears and hurts swirling into a tempest I could no longer contain. My voice, raw and hoarse with frustration, began to fade. I was withering, a flower in a drought waiting for a rain that would never come. They remained as they were, guardians of a truth unspoken, unmoved by tempest or turbulence. As I stared into their unyielding eyes, The last vestiges of hope slipped away, a whisper in the wind. I slammed the door behind me, feeling the vibration reverberate through the walls. It's meant to keep everything out, everyone out, but it does nothing for the churn of emotions inside me. My room is too familiar, its corners too sharp tonight. The anger I carry is a weight pressing down, leaving no room for rational thought or breath. I trace the worn path from my bed to the window, pacing like a caged animal. My fists clench, and I'm dimly aware of my nails biting into my palms, a physical manifestation of what's happening inside. The carpet underfoot feels foreign, though it's been there for years. It's me that's out of place now, betrayed by someone I trusted. Always trusted. I want to scream, to throw something, to make the noise outside reflect the chaos within. But the quiet is a relentless presence, stifling, filling the room like a thick fog. The quiet of my sanctuary turned prison, echoes of stolen trust whispering from cold corners. I mutter, my voice barely a ripple in the oppressive silence. The walls seem to creep closer, holding my anger aloft like an offering I didn't ask for. I drop onto the bed, the mattress sagging beneath my weight, cradling me like a tired old friend. The anger wanes into something colder, sharp-edged, loneliness. I wrap myself tighter, arms encircling knees, pulling closer to a semblance of security. How did it all go so wrong? Where did I let my guard down, stupidly naive enough to think I was safe? Each object in the room bears witness to this invisible war. The poster on the wall, the one we laughed about while pinning up, taunts me with its memories. The desk lamp, a beacon during endless nights of whispered plans and dreams, stands mute, shedding light, but offering none of its own. Even the shadows under the door seem complicit, coiled like snakes waiting to strike. I can feel tears prickling at the corners of my eyes, hot with fury and cold with despair. They threaten the dam I've built inside against feeling too much all at once. But I can't afford the release, not yet. The anger keeps me afloat, anchoring me to the reality I need to face even when I don't want to. Yet beneath it, a cavernous hole yawns wide, a betrayal that looks me right in the eye and dares me to fall. A shiver runs through me not from the chill, but from the thought, the terrible whisper. What comes next? My mind races, but adrenaline keeps it at bay for now, enough to fuel what I need to do. Action is necessary, inevitable, the only antidote to the storm inside. I'll have to move soon, act on this betrayal. But for now, in this moment, I let myself disappear into the shadows cloaking my prison, gathering the strength needed to face what waits outside. The night air wrapped around me, teasing a lingering chill across my skin as the car engine purred beneath my feet. The road stretched ahead, an endless ribbon of asphalt under the eerie glow of streetlights, each bulb an isolated sentinel watching my passage. Time had lost its footing. 2 a.m. or 4, did it matter? The need to drive, to flee or find something, kept urging me forward without a destination. The city, a quiet leviathan, loomed in silhouette against the night sky. Sleepless streets bore witness to my unburdening. Headlights sliced through the darkness, whispering promises I've yet to understand. I felt them, half-formed thoughts, rattling in my throat, each a ghost as elusive as smoke. I sought clarity, but what did that even mean? Every decision had slid out of my hands like sand through fingers. Could any of this make sense again? I breathed them out, those questions, desperate and aimless, into the perfumed night air, hoping they'd vanish as easily as mist. The wheel felt solid, reassuring in my grip, anchoring me amidst the frenzy that lay hidden beneath a veneer of calm. Buildings pulsed past, indistinct shapes squinting through late-night shadows. Neon signs flickered like cautious eyes, and somewhere, the smell of late-night food mingled with the exhaust, a mixture both soothing and unsettling. I glanced at the passenger seat, empty, a ghostly reminder of the conversations never had, the silence worn smooth like a stone over years of neglect. My mind looped over the same terrain it had labored under for days. Faces and voices crashed against my thoughts, a cacophony that refused quiet. What am I doing? A whisper caught in the back of my mind as my knuckles turned white against the wheel. The question hung heavy, a lead weight tethered to my racing heart. Red lights pierced the night ahead, momentarily halting my escape. I stopped, the world pausing with me, breathing synchrony between my mind's chaos and the city's patient indifference. I fought the urge to punch the radio on, to drown out the howling silence with anything at all. But then I let the stillness engulf me, the night whispering my truths back to me. This solitude was both my prison and freedom, walls thick with the memory of every failing and regret I refused to name. Yet, in this motion, this ceaseless drive under the blanket of impending dawn, I found a glimmer of relief. Perhaps clarity wasn't the absence of chaos, but the acceptance of it. As the light turned green, I inhaled deeply, the night air filling my lungs with promises I wasn't ready to break. Foot to pedal, I propelled forward once more, leaving behind only faint tire marks etched into the asphalt, echoes of a path less unraveling than I imagined. I stand at the crossroads beneath a canopy of towering oaks, their intertwined branches whispering secrets only they remember. The path I used to navigate in my childhood, winding and serpentine, lies before me, leading to the crumbled remains of what was once a proud stone bridge. I could not bear to return sooner, fearing what echoes might reverberate here. But today, I am pulled by something I can't quite articulate, a need to confront the ruins of us. As I draw closer, the bridge stands like a sentinel, unchanged and yet different. Weathered by time, it is a monument to laughter and innocence that once filled these woods, now defaced by the graffiti of matured realities. Each stone bore witness to promises unfulfilled, laughter gone cold beneath layers of forgotten leaves. The words whisper in my mind like a haunting lullaby, each syllable a shard of glass. I step forward, feeling the crunch of brittle twigs beneath my feet. Our names are still etched, entwined in the stone amidst wild mosses reclaiming lost ground. My fingers trace them, feeling the rough, familiar texture, so markedly different from when we carved them with the naive certainty of youth. I can almost hear your laughter, bright and unfettered, as if it lingers in the ambient hum of the forest. But that laughter, once a balm, now scrapes against my skin with the force of its betrayal. The air is chillier here, almost electric with the weight of unspoken truths. Sunlight dapples through the trees, casting fretful shadows that dance across the remnants of our past. I remember the days we would lie beneath this bridge, sharing secrets and dreams, a fortress of invincibility built on shifting sands. Our voices echoing in conspiratorial whispers, plotting futures vivid with possibility, yet unwritten. Now, every echo returns hollow, a mockery of the naive hopes we dared to voice. I feel a tightness in my chest, a pressure of building emotion grappling for control. It's suffocating, the reality that what was once opulent with meaning is now reduced to this skeletal frame, a relic of broken vows and unhealed wounds. Yet, midst the ache, a spark of something akin to defiance stirs. This place, this memory, is forever changed indeed, but so am I. What once defined me can no longer bind me. This bridge, these stones, crumbling as they are, still stand as a testament not only to lost love, but also to survival, to a quiet, unyielding resilience that murmurs beneath my pain. I step back, letting the silence fill in the space where our stories once thrived. With one last glance, I turn away, feeling the faintest trace of peace rooting within the turmoil. As I walk, my steps crunching new paths through dead leaves, I sense a glimmer of hope, the unfamiliar but welcome possibility that what lies ahead need not be haunted by what was left behind. The streetlight cast a sickly yellow glow, catching in the sheen of my brother's eyes as I stood there, arms crossed against the evening chill. Each breath left my mouth as a visible wisp, a silent testament to the words we hadn't yet spoken. I watched him closely, searching for that flicker of guilt or understanding. Anything to show he felt even a fraction of the turmoil swirling inside me. It was quiet out here, the kind of quiet that makes even whispers seem deafening. "We need to talk," I finally said, my voice surprisingly steady, yet sharp enough to cut through the stillness. He shifted his weight, jammed his hands into his pockets, and nodded, but his eyes wouldn't quite meet mine. "I know what this is about," he mumbled, voice barely audible over the hum of distant traffic. "Do you?" I asked, each word a challenge. My anger was simmering just beneath the surface, a barely controlled fire. "Because I've been trying to figure out how you could just betray me like that." His eyes finally met mine, and in them I saw a reflection of my own anguish, a pain that mirrored my own but was distorted, marred by defensiveness. "It wasn't like that," he said, taking a hesitant step towards me. "You don't understand." "Then make me understand," I demanded. My voice hitched, uncertain whether it wanted to break or accuse. "You always act like you're the perfect one, the one who can do no wrong. Guess what? You're not." He flinched at that, the words hitting their target. His composure cracked for a moment, and when he spoke again, his voice was low, almost pleading. "I was just doing what they always expected of me. What they wanted, or what you thought you needed to do to prove you're better." I shot back, feeling the bitterness of rivalry surfacing, long dormant, yet always lurking beneath our brotherhood. He straightened, jaw set in that stubborn way of his. "Is that what you believe? That I'm always trying to one-up you?" His voice rose, tinged with something between frustration and hurt. The words hung in the air between us, heavy with the weight of years. "This isn't just about them, all right? It's about us," I said, struggling to keep the vulnerability out of my voice. "I needed you to have my back, and you chose the easy road. You let me down." His defensive stance softened, and for a brief moment, the shadow of something genuine flickered across his face. "I didn't mean to." "Yeah, well, you did," I interrupted, cutting him off as emotions surged overpoweringly. I took a step back, needing space to breathe, to think. He didn't follow, just stood there, the night air thick with what was left unsaid. As the silence stretched, filled now with the sounds of our separate worlds colliding, I turned away, the streetlight casting our silhouettes long and distinct, two shadows diverging in the pale glow. The room felt colder than usual, shadows stretching like clawed fingers across the walls, swallowing the fading warmth of the day. My mind was a turbulent sea, waves of doubt and regret crashing against the fragile shores of my sanity. I sat at the kitchen table, hands wrapped around a mug of cold coffee, eyes fixed on nothing in particular. Then, the phone buzzed on the table, a sudden jolt that tore through the silence. The screen flashed a name I hadn't seen in years, Charlie. For a moment, I hesitated, lips parting in a silent question to the universe. Why now? Why would someone from my past surface when everything felt like it was unraveling? Curiosity, laced with a desperate need for something, anything, resembling a lifeline, urged me to answer. "Hey." Charlie's voice flowed through the receiver, familiar yet distant, like a beloved tune heard after a long absence. It carried a sincerity that cut through the fog that enveloped my thoughts. "I heard things have been rough for you." I blinked, struggling to find the words. "Yeah, you could say that," I replied, the crack in my voice betraying more than I intended. "You want to talk?" he offered, an olive branch extended from across an emotional chasm I didn't even know how to begin bridging. The irony of the moment wasn't lost on me. Here was someone who had once stood beside me during some of my darkest times, yet I had let that friendship slip away like sand through fingers. But now, as he reached out, something shifted within. The room seemed less oppressive, the air lighter. "I dunno, it's just... everything's a mess," I admitted, the words spilling out before I could stop them. "I've been feeling like I'm on the edge of something, and I don't know how to come back." His silence on the other end was a gentle nudge, permission to unburden without judgment. "Remember that time we got lost in the city after that concert?" he asked, his tone playful, conjuring images of long-forgotten youthful escapades, when the world seemed both intimidating and full of promise. A reluctant smile tugged at my lips. "Yeah, we thought we'd never find our way back. But we did, didn't we?" he said softly, his words a hand reaching through the fog, stabilizing the trembling precipice of my fractured beliefs. "Sometimes we just need someone who sees the map a little differently." I didn't respond immediately, my thoughts a confounding haze of fear and hope. The room was unchanged, yet the gray gloom seemed to recede ever so slightly. "Maybe you're right," I finally murmured, a small flicker kindling within. It wasn't much, but it was something, a tiny ember hidden beneath the ashes of disarray. "Let's meet up," he suggested, the warmth of his invitation settling over me like a long-lost embrace. "I might help with that mess of yours." And as I hung up, a tremulous hope dared to take root. The house was a silent witness, its walls betraying nothing, but I felt every crack, every space where old arguments had seeped and settled. I could sense them waiting inside, the air heavy with a history that clung to my skin like stale smoke. My hand hesitated on the doorknob, a tremor of the past before the resolve steadied me, unyielding and clear. I was here to confront them for the last time, and this time, I was both steel and unwavering calm, a tempest quieted by the knowledge of my worth beyond their deception. I stepped inside, the familiar groan of the floorboards under my feet echoing like a question asked too many times. The living room was as unchanged as they were, cozy and unthreatening in its deception. My parents looked up, their faces twin masks of surprised expectation. My mom offered a hesitant smile, and my dad's eyes softened, but I didn't move to bridge the distance. Not this time. Hey, my voice came out stronger than I felt, the clarity of purpose threading through each syllable. Hi, dear, my mom started, her voice like sugar over a bitter pill. We were just talking about you. Were you? My words tasted odd in my mouth, like fresh rain after a long drought, cleansing but unfamiliar. I came to talk about something too. Their smiles faltered, like a blood-red sky forewarning a storm. My dad straightened, probably sensing the shift, the one where I was no longer their child silenced by the past, but someone who had walked everyday miles to reach this brink. I need to tell you how I feel about everything, I began. Their eyes flicked to each other, the unspoken alliance of the defensive. I've listened to your reasons, your apologies. But today, it's just about me. I don't understand, Dad muttered, a slight twitch of his incredulous smile betraying the fear beneath. You do, I replied quietly, the weight of honesty a bulletproof shield against protest. All the deceit, the lies. I thought I needed to forgive you to move on. But it's more than that. It's understanding my worth isn't tied to what you did. Their reactions were as mismatched as I'd expected. Mom's tears threatened, while Dad's indignation simmered just beneath the surface. But none of that mattered. Not anymore. I'm not here for forgiveness, I said, letting the words settle into the room's fabric, shattering the echoes of our past. I'm here to end this. To let it go. For me, there was silence, a heavy, final note hanging in the air. It was liberation bound with loss, a severing of old chains that left knots in my throat. But the weight was theirs now, not mine. I walked out, the door clicking shut behind me with a definitive, irrevocable sound. As I stepped back into the world, I felt it, a quiet storm within, and the beginning of something new. The ground felt solid under my feet, every crunch of gravel a punctuation mark in my thoughts. I paused for a moment, letting the cool dawn breeze brush against my skin, its touch both gentle and invigorating. In the distance, the horizon bled colors of a new day, a soft palette painting over the inky remnants of night. Each breath I took seemed to echo louder with an odd symmetry, as if even the universe was hesitant atop the edge of what came next. Leaving had never felt more like an imperative than a choice, like some unseen hand gently nudging me forward into this nascent light. Behind me, shadows clung to the crumbling edges of my past. It was a place so familiar, once wrapped in warmth, but now it lay cold and empty like a shell abandoned by its creature. But now, the shadows couldn't reach me. An owl hooted, mournfully or perhaps encouragingly, and I let the sound linger, mingle with the rustling leaves. As I resumed my walk, each step towards the sunlit horizon stitched wounds with whispered promises of freedom rather than forgiveness. It wasn't about erasing what happened, that wasn't possible, but rather about embracing what lay ahead. I thought of the word forgive, and how hollow it felt when whispered only to silence. My fingers brushed against the rough bark of a nearby tree as I passed, grounding me in this new world where connections might still be woven, but more carefully this time. I could feel the thudding of my heart subsiding to a more steady rhythm, the erratic beats of betrayal giving way to a tempo in tune with renewed purpose. The smell of dew-soaked fields drifted around me, fresh like possibility. I imagined the droplets on each blade of grass as mirrors, showing fractured reflections of my potential paths. There was a strange comfort in the infinite unknown, its very vastness a promise that anything could be rebuilt, reshaped. A smile curved my lips, tentative but real. The weight of months, perhaps even years, slipped free as the sun edged higher, igniting golden highlights through the air. I felt myself opening to the promise in those rays, unraveling the knots that had been tied tight in my belly for far too long. Enough, I whispered, my voice mingling with the rustle of awakening life around me. The word carried more than resignation. It spoke of acceptance, the kind that didn't want retribution but instead asked for renewal. With every step, the path seemed to widen, make room for the person I was becoming. No longer just a silhouette defined by circumstance, but a figure cast in the growing light of intention. As the warmth of the sun touched my face, I closed my eyes and let go of a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. The world opened before me, wide and welcoming. Today, this journey, my journey, had truly begun.